areas of your life that you never had victory over. That's where the giants are, where you never apprehended it, and that's where they have a stronghold. He stood and cried out to the armies of Israel and said to them, "Why have you come out to line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine and you the servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourself, let him come down to me. And if he's able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants and serve us." And the Philistines said, "I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man, that we may fight together." When Saul and Israel heard these words of the Philistines, they were greatly afraid and dismayed. So the Israelites are in the land, but they haven't taken all of the land that God has given to them. They're enemies because they never took the whole land. Their enemies become a constant hindrance to them, particularly the Philistines. They are a people who appear to be linked to the Greeks, sea peoples. They sailed. They're all on the coast of Israel, or their headquarters are on the coast in cities like Gath, Ashkelon, and Gaza. Interesting, from the word Philistine comes the word Palestine. Palestine was never the name of that land. Sometimes you see things in Bibles that say Palestine in the time of Jesus. There was no Palestine in the time of Jesus. There was only Israel or Judah. Amen. But from that, you get the word Palestine and Palestinian. You know what Palestine means? It means the land of the Philistines. It's calling the Holy Land the land of the Philistines. That's what the name means. And one of their main headquarters today of the Palestinians is the Gaza Strip. Same place. Gaza, same as it was then. But now the Philistines, back then, have a new weapon. He's a man whose name is Goliath. Try it. Goliath. And we call him Goliath, but it's Goliath. 6 cubits high. Cubit is 1.5 feet. That makes him like 9 feet plus a span. He is a trained killer. The Israelites are confronted with a giant. God's peoples are confronted with giants. Why? Because the enemy wants to stop the purposes of God. And evil always seeks to come in like a giant, to make itself look big. You are confronted with giants. A giant, what is a giant? A giant is anything the enemy uses in your life that looks big to hinder you, hinder your walk, make you fall, make you afraid, intimidate you, keep you in bondage, keep you from doing what God has called you to do. Giants were in the promised land from the beginning when the first spies came in. So the enemy uses giants to stop you from entering the promised land that God has for your life. The blessings, the promises. He'll use anything. Everybody deals with something. Everybody has giants in their life, one way or the other. For instance, you may recognize some of them. There's always, I can't name all of them, but there's first of all, there's the giant of sin. Might be a specific sin that you've been dealing with and have not had victory over it. A habit, an addiction, a fear, an attitude, an anxiety, a gloom, a depression, a particular habit. It could be pornography, gossip, lying, anger, any addiction. And it goes on. Bitterness, anything, trauma, something in your life, guilt, a shame, victimhood, wounds, what happened in your life. It stays with you. Giant of failure, giant of rejection, giant of bondage. There's more, and you know whatever you are dealing with. Now notice what Goliath does. He stands and shouts to the Israelites. He's taunting them. He's threatening them. He's defying them. He's trying to intimidate them. This is psychological warfare. That's how the enemy uses the giant in your life. That's what your giant does. That giant, the enemy uses that to intimidate you, to discourage you, to tell you you can't do it. You can't even fight it. That thing that you haven't had victory, that seeks to paralyze you. That's what the enemy does with a giant. That fear, that failure, that sin, that habit, that to keep you in defeat and not living in the power and the victory of God. Goliath is the result of the fact that they didn't quite do what God said. God says, take the whole land. Wherever you go, it shall be given to you. But so they didn't go to some places, and it wasn't given to them. So you are God's child, if you're born again. You've entered a new life. This is a life, a land of promises, but you still may have areas of your life that you never had victory over. That's where the giants are, where you never apprehended it, and that's where they have a stronghold. How do you overcome it? How did the Israelites overcome it? In this case, it was through one man named David. And David shows the qualities of giant slaying, not just in his slingshot and his strategy, but in his nature, in his heart, in his attitude. It's David. I'm going to give you some of the most important keys in overcoming that thing in your life. Some directly from David and some from beyond David. But here, let's first look at what David did. Saul said to David, "You're not able to go against the Philistine to fight for him. You're only a youth." Well, he's been a warrior since his youth. But David said to Saul, "Your servant was tending his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and took a sheep from the flock, I went out after it and attacked it. I rescued the sheep from its mouth, and when it rose against me, I grabbed it by its mane and struck and killed it." This is a heavy guy. I mean, he's a youth. He takes a lion by the mane and kills it. "Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, since he has defied the armies of the living God." And David said, "The Lord who saved me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, he will save me from the hand of this Philistine." So Saul said to David, "Go, and may the Lord be with you." Now, everybody else believed they could not win against Goliath, which is natural. And they're right in the natural. But David was the only one who believed he could win. And he was right. You see, you'll be right either way. If you don't believe that you can have victory in God, you are not going to have victory in God. You'll be right. If you believe you can have victory in God, as God has said, you will have victory in God. But if you're going to have victory, the first thing is you have to believe that you can. If you just give in that this is just the way it is going to be in my life, you will never have the victory. You got to get away from that. Secondly, number two, notice what David says. And these are all keys. He says, "While I was out with the sheep, I killed the lion and the bear. I'm going to do that again." What is he doing? He's using his past victories to give him strength for the next victory. His future. He's not looking at his failures. I'm sure he had failures, but he's not looking at that. He's looking at, listen, God gave me victory here. God gave me victory here, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to go forward in that. And you have to do the same thing. You know what David did? He encouraged himself in the Lord, it says. He strengthened himself in the Lord. You have to do the same thing. Look, and you may say, "Well, I've had failure," but you've had some victories. Doesn't matter who you are. If you've known God, He's blessed you. And so take the good. Dwell on what God has done in your life. Dwell on how far you've come. Dwell on any good thing that has happened with you in God. And use it to get momentum to have the breakthrough in the victory that God wants to give you. Hi, I'm Jonathan Cahn, and I hope you were blessed with the video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Feel free to share your reactions with your comments and how you were blessed, and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.